3, 2, 1. Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Warships Legends. My name is Spartan Elite 43 and tonight I am on a roll. I'm not gonna lie, I have been recording non-stop for the last couple hours here. I went to bed super early this afternoon, so I woke up in the middle of the night and was like, you know what? YouTube, let's do it. So, without further ado, let's get to the meat, the KUTUZOV. So, first of all, Commander. We have Nikolai Kuznetsov, and he's got the Follow the Sun perk, which increases the range of the cruiser's main guns. Look for me to be adding this to my Baltimore, by the way. Then we've got Norman Scott as a Precision of Cruiser's main guns inspiration, and Andre Roux, which is only a tier 6 captain at the moment, but he increases the cruiser's main gun HE shells damage, and the reason I choose that is as follows. First of all, Beyond Range gives us an extra 10% to the main gun range, and I'm like, you're probably thinking, Spartan, why do you care about the range of a cruiser's gun? Trust me, this is an absolute monster when it comes to range. No other cruiser in the game, including the Baltimore, has anything on the range of this ship. And beyond that, its accuracy is fantastic, and its high explosive will be the bane of every battleship captain dispersion build. Like, it will be the bane of your existence if you like dispersion build battleships, because mainly there's only one ship in the game currently that can outrange this ship. I say one ship. There can be, I think the Jean Bart can compete with it, but you'll see what I mean. So then we've got Intuitive, which is like Twist and Track for destroyers, only as a cruiser, and you get increased sonar duration and surveillance radar duration as well. Equilibrium of Power increases the penetration of your HE shell, so you're going to get more penetrations with your HE, less shatters, and you do reduce the amount of overall damage that your HE shells do, but because you're going to get more penetrations, you're going to be doing more damage overall, so it's not that bad. Notice I didn't go with Punch Through like I normally do in Commanders, because we do not want to use AP very often in the ship. HE is where it's at, unless of course you're in a good position to obliterate cruisers, because your fantastic fire rate, because their 152mm guns are just ridiculous. So increase the precision and accuracy of your cruiser's main battery shells, and finally the fully packed skill, because we did get them legendary rank 2, obviously. So with that being said, let's look at the ship itself. We've got upgrades. We've got aiming systems mod 1. We've got propulsion mod 2. This can be changed out for steering gears. It'll be up to you. I like the propulsion mod just because you're going to be sitting a lot, and then when people will actually spot you because they have a plane up, or somebody like a destroyer sneaks out wide and spots you while you're behind your mountain, you can quickly change course, or you can quickly go forward or reverse to try to get out of the way of the shells before they hit you. You're going to be firing at such long ranges that you can actually just go forward and reverse and miss most of the shells that are sent at you. Now, the next one is concealment system. For obvious reasons, you don't want to be detected, and it also increases the fire dispersion of shells coming at you, so you're not likely to be hit as often. And at the ranges that you're firing at, again, the likelihood that you're hit in the beginning is slim anyway. And then finally, we went with gunfire control system here, and the reason for that is it, once again, increases the range of the guns. You could potentially reduce the main battery reload, but your reload's already fantastic. You can get 2 salvos in the air at long distance, so you're not going to be hurting for a reload. You're 8 seconds, and you get all the guns in the world. So I personally prefer actually extending that range further. This range on this thing is literally the bane of every battleship that sits in the cap and does nothing. You will be burned to death sitting at the back of the map. You have no choice but to start moving forward against this ship. And there are going to be lots of them. Why? Because this ship is fantastic. So let's look at the loadout. Now, first of all, you'll notice I've got my flag on here. It comes with the permanent camo. And this is the campaign ship, if you're not aware. This is the Tier 7 KUTUZOV, or KUTUZOV. And it is the campaign ship. So you pay your 2,500 doubloons, you go through all of the campaign missions, you got a brand new Tier 7 ship. Or you can just skip all of the missions and buy your Tier 7 ship you know, I think it'll be like 28,000 gold total. You'll have to let me know. But you'll notice I've got the epic booster battle propensity. Normally, I only use this on my Iowa, which is why I have so many of them. I don't use that many of them. But for this ship in particular, it boosts it boosts my distance that I can shoot from 19.1 to 19.5. So let's look at the stats. 40,000 hit points is low. For a tier 7 cruiser, that's not a lot. I do believe that pretty much every other cruiser in the game has more, let's just, before I just, you know, run my mouth, let's double check. Because I feel like I might be wrong. But I know, say, we'll go Japanese and we'll go German. No. Why is it saying my controller? My controller is most definitely not disconnected. That was weird. We will go German. And I don't think the French... Well, let's just go French. Alright. So, let's look real quick at, say... Oh, that's another thing we should have done, is cruisers. Just to make it easy. Alright, so... Baltimore. How many hit points? Yeah, 42. So, it's a little bit less, and I imagine that the, Atago's probably in that neighborhood. Yep, 40,000. So it's right on target with all of the other... Oops. Right on target with all of the other cruises. Sorry about this one taking a little bit longer, but I wanted to get it right. I a lot of times just come in here and just spout my mouth, and I wanted to make sure that I was correct on that. So it's a little bit low, but it's like right on target. It's not necessarily a heavy cruiser. So with your Atagos, your... Mogamis and stuff like that. Mogami technically I think is a heavy cruiser, but you know what I'm saying. Anyway, moving on from the survivability. It's a cruiser. Don't get hit. Stay at maximum range and rain fire from hell. Like that's what you do in the ship. You've got 12 guns, 3 turrets, 4 guns each. Or no, 4 turrets, 3 guns each. Sorry, I always get that backwards. 152 millimeters, 19.6 range. Like I said, it goes from 19.1 without the booster to 19.6 with the booster. You've got an 8-second reload. The turrets are 25 seconds, 180 traverse time, so that's a little bit slow for a cruiser. But they're still, because you're at such a long range, they don't have to turn that much. You're not really going to notice that unless you're in a close range battle. HE shells don't do that much damage overall, 1881. However, 12% chance to set fire. And because you're shooting in such high volume and you're accurate, you're going to be getting a lot of fires, as you're going to see in the battle. Now, it's got secondaries, the AP shells, 3300. Again, you're not really going to be getting into too many AP battles unless, of course, you find yourself 1v1ing a cruiser and they are broadside on. Otherwise, you're going to be using HE almost 95% of the time. Secondaries, you've got 100mm guns, and you have 12 of them, okay? So 2 gun turrets, and there are 6 of them. So you're not going to be, again, getting in range of your secondaries very often. They only have a firing range of 5.3 kilometers, which isn't bad for a cruiser, to be honest. Torpedoes, you have 8-kilometer torpedo range, which I believe is the best out of the entire tech tree. I haven't looked it up, but I believe that this has longer range torpedoes than any of the cruisers in the tech tree. I believe usually they're short range torpedoes. However, the torpedo speed is 60 knots, which is not bad. They're not super fast, but they're not bad. 60 knots is kind of nice. It's kind of what we expect here on World of Warships Legends. Most of our torpedoes are in that 60-knot range. Some of them are a little faster, but we haven't seen any of those 72-knot torpedoes or anything like that yet. So, I say yet. I'm sure they'll show up eventually. But they do 14,400 damage. Not the hardest hitting, but not bad. Now, maneuverability, 34 knots maximum speed, which isn't bad, actually. It's not super slow, and it's not like... It's... right there with most of the cruisers. If you think about the battleships like the Gneisenau and the Iowa, if you go with, and the Jean Bart, if you go with the speed builds. You can hit this sort of speed or close to it in a battleship. But, you know, if you look at the Baltimore, the Hipper, and the Megami and all of them, they're right in this neighborhood, 34 to 35 knots. You can get them faster, obviously, if you choose the perks. Turning circle, not the greatest, 760 meters. I believe that is worse than the Alabama, so keep that in mind. That's not saying that that's bad. I mean, the Alabama has a fantastic turning circle, but it's a battleship, and you've got a worse turning circle than a battleship, so keep that in mind. Rudder shift, but the rudder shift is fantastic, meaning this thing is agile. It doesn't turn quickly as far as, you know, a full turning circle, but when you need to shift back and forth, it does a pretty good job of it. But again, you're not going to be using that all that often when you're firing from behind an island at maximum range, raining hellfire on the enemy. Concealment 55, but again, not really that relevant because you're not going to have to worry about it. You're going to be behind an island. You're going to be raining high explosive. Now, it's 12.5 kilometers, which means it's one of the worst concealed cruisers in the game. The Baltimore even, I think, is better than that. So that's something to think about. Just so you know. Now, overview. Sure shot. The shells with a good ballistic trajectory remain fast and make aiming easier. So what this means is you're shooting a flatter trajectory overall, and the shells don't slow down as much while they're going through the air. So it does make aiming at long distance a little easier. However, it's still a cruiser. You're still firing extreme firing arcs, so you still need to account for the long flight times at maximum range. Long reach, above average. No, it's not above average. It's best in class. Like, there is no cruiser that competes with this thing as far as range goes. None. So, yeah. You're not going to have to worry about too many cruisers punching you while you're doing your job. Modest guns. It is equipped with low caliber for a tier 7 cruiser. 152s are generally considered low caliber at high tiers. Now, the KUTUZOV. One of the most advanced light artillery cruisers in the USSR Navy. The ship was as good as most of her foreign counterparts in terms of speed and armor. The cruiser's key advantage over other ships of her type was her main battery that boasted a very long firing range due to the successful design of turret mounts. She entered service in 1954, and there were 21 of these made. That's fun right there. That's a lot of ships built. So there was a lot of these floating around patrolling. And without further ado, let's get to the gameplay. Alrighty, so what can I say that I haven't already said about this? Well, first of all, you guys know that I am not a fire starter kind of guy. It's just not my playstyle. I don't feel like it's that exciting. It's not a very fun way to play the game, in my personal opinion. Now, if you're of that sort of person, then, you know, far be it for me to say, hey, you shouldn't do this. It's just not my sort of playstyle. However, that being said, I will be picking up this ship. This is on loan to me by Wargaming, by the way, if you hadn't noticed. I am a CC in World of Warships Legends, so they give us a loaner ship for all the new premiums that come out for a week, and then they take them back and let us earn them the old-fashioned way, whether it's a campaign like the KUTUZOV here, or whether it's one of the other ones where you have to actually purchase it. So, with that being said, I will be picking this ship up. Why? Because I think it's incredibly strong and borderline overpowered for what it is. I say borderline overpowered because at the end of the day, it's still going to rely on cover. And the one thing that I say all the time about, you know, cruisers and fire starters requiring cover is, generally speaking, you need to be in a division to make the most of these sort of builds. This is not the case with this ship because of the incredible range of the guns. Normally you need to be in a division because the islands that you have require you to be selective on your approach at best. And at worst, you just don't get the sort of fun matches. Now here, I'm not going to lie, I goofed this shot up quite a bit. Now I'm trying to follow him, and then when I zoom out, it reloads like where I was aiming, so it makes me shoot straight at the island, unfortunately, rather than shoot him. and you're going to see quite a bit of goofs here. This is only my second match in this, by the way, and it's going to be one of my best overall damage matches I've ever had in a cruiser, so that should be able to tell you exactly what you've got on your hands here. I'm not, you know, some sort of cruiser aficionado. I can play armor-piercing cruisers pretty aggressively and do pretty well, but overall, this is not really my forte. Now, notice, we would have killed that guy. We had him fire. He had already used his damage con on the first fire. And fires come in abundance with this thing. The sheer volume of fire. You're shooting 12 rounds every single salvo when you're full broadside like this. And every single salvo, or every single shell has what would we say was 12% chance to set a fire. So if you do the math there, you've got 12% chance times 12. Okay? Now, I'm no expert. Now, I don't know. Probability is an interesting subject for another time. We'll just leave that to the professionals. We are going to start burning everything. Burn them all. And this is going to be a lesson to you battleship captains, okay? Quit using your damage con on one fire. Stop doing it. Because when you do that, in today's meta, with all of the high explosive spam that you're going to be getting hit with, you're going to burn to death. And you're going to do so very quickly. Take it from me. Now, I don't usually do damage control for one fire. Unless, of course, I've killed the thing that set me on fire, in which case I'll probably do it just to stop the damage and get started on the healing. But over and over again, you're going to see these battleships burn their damage con on one fire. And over again, you're going to see me continue to pummel them with high explosive after they've burned their damage con to try to set another fire. Now, the Jean Bart fires at us, we start backing up, and he completely misses us with maybe one round. And there we've got a 2-fire on the Jean. Oh my god! Pay attention to the map, Spartan Bismarck! Yep, that hurt. Hey, by the way, we've got smoke for these occasions. So, yeah, he fired his guns, which means my teammates are now detecting him easily, which are keeping him lit up. Now, we're getting all the damage from the 2 fires that we set on the Jean Bart, who's going to burn for quite a long time. And now the Bismarck has gotten our attention, so it's time to start burning him down. And it's just a matter of time, and you can see you can get two salvos in the air at any given time. And there's the first fire. Now wait for it, there's the damage control, which means next time he gets set on fire, he's gonna burn for quite a while. And I'm not the only one shooting high explosive at him. In fact, the next person to set him on fire isn't even me. Wait for it. There's the fire from the friendly teammate. Now, he does take a blind shot at me, in fairness. Unfortunately for him, he fails. And now we've got a fire. So he's on fire twice and is going to burn for quite some time. And now, instead of continuing to pummel him into oblivion, we're just going to let him burn for a while and go back to our Jean Bart that we were firing at. See how he's starting to turn? He's starting to make himself a little harder target. Ah, look, Jean Bart sailing in reverse, using all of that beautiful armor for nothing. He's literally just sailing in reverse. He's like, I gotta get away from these fire spamming punks. Unfortunately for you, Sunshine, you're gonna be in my range for quite a while, because 19.6 is a thing in a cruiser. It's disgusting. Oh, by the way, we only shoot 12 rounds and we're hitting 10 of them at this range. That's how accurate. That's the slightly Russian bias that some people may talk about. But that's just cruiser accuracy in and of itself. You do a dispersion build on a cruiser, you're landing almost every single shell every single time you fire. And that's what makes cruisers have the highest DPM of any other vehicle in the game. Yes, you get the devastating strikes from torpedoes. Yes, you get the devastating strikes from the battleships. But when it comes down to just damage over time and rapid-fire citadels from armor piercing like you get in the Baltimore, there is no other game or no other vehicle class in the game that can compete with cruisers on that scale. However, as you've seen, we just keep raining hellfire on these guys. And we're at 95,000 damage. It doesn't feel like we've even done anything. We moved, what, a couple hundred yards from the spawn, or a couple kilometers from the spawn. He fires at us. We start moving. And unfortunately for him, he hits the island and can't even shoot us. This is incredibly frustrating for battleship captains, especially dispersion build battleship captains who have the extra ability to get set on fire. Well, now that we're not the only one out there getting shot at, we're still getting the fire damage from the guy, and unfortunately, once again, we have all of the fires, but no actual kills. We're over 230 hits with our main batteries at this point. This is Atlanta-esque, guys. We don't get as many guns as the Atlanta. The Atlanta, I believe, gets 16. We get 12. But still, the amount of firepower that you're sending... I get it, firepower. Speaking of fires, another fire! And, wait for it. Oh, does this guy not have his damage control? Because I feel like he should be burning it at one fire, right, guys? No. I'm fairly confident he had already lost it, or he had already used his damage con. But he does decide, okay, backing up is a bad idea. There's a lot of guys behind me. I'm going to charge the Bismarck instead, but it's too late for you, Sunshine. You're already taking fire from everybody on the map. You're not long for this world. And while I'm not the most accurate with this thing at the moment, we can get some nasty shots off, and I try to take shots at the KUTUZOV. But unfortunately, I don't get a chance to hit him. And Gneisenau gonna keep burning. He's just gonna keep burning forever. And then if he does decide to put out the fire, he's gonna burn some more, because as soon as we get a chance to start shooting him again, we'll just set some more fires. And we're at 11 fires set in this match, which is the most I've ever done in any ship. So again, everybody who likes these sort of builds, these fire starter builds, is going to enjoy this ship, just for the range of being able to reach out and touch people and set fires. Battleships, you are no longer safe running to the back of the map, because this thing can get to an island and still reach out and touch you and set you on fire. And if you're a dispersion build, like most people are, when they go to the back of the map, then you're still going to end up in a problem real quick. You're not going to be able to get away from them. That is going to be a huge shift in the meta of the game. We're already seeing a lot of Atagos, a lot of Miyoko, Mogami, Belfast, Atlantas. All of the cruisers are starting to be able to realize that fire is a very valid strategy for a cruiser. Battleships, not so much, even though battleships do it. King George, Vanguard, you're the two exceptions because you get such fantastic high explosive. But for the most part, battleships shouldn't be firing HE unless they have a target that's already burned his damage control and you're just trying to set the fire. But generally speaking, HE is for cruisers, and cruisers use it, and destroyers. Cruisers use it better than anybody. And when you couple the overwhelming firepower and fire rate that you get with cruisers and the ability to set fires with the high explosive, it's disgusting how quickly battleships just melt. And I was in a match in my Iowa. You guys know my Iowa is pretty tough under most circumstances. And the reason I'm going through this right now is because I want to talk to you guys about, dispersion build battleships. No better example than my Iowa, right? I was in a match, it was on Trident. I spawned on the left side, and I knew that the enemy team was 3/4 cruisers. There was no destroyers to worry about. It was all cruisers and like 3 battleships. And so I knew that if I pushed up, I was in trouble, and yet I did it anyway, thinking, this is going to be glorious. I'm in a battleship. I'm going to be able to delete every cruiser that I see. It's an Iowa. It shouldn't be a problem. However, I was not prepared for the sheer volume of rounds that I was receiving that were high explosive in nature. And you wait until you get set on fire 3 times, use your damage control, and then you get set on fire 3 times again immediately thereafter, and you burn to death within 3 minutes of the game starting, and only manage to do 30 or 40,000 damage, because even while you are able to reach out and touch people, you still die so quickly that the 1 or 2 people that you do hit that you citadel but don't kill are alive and you're not. So keep in mind and keep an eye out for more battleships deciding, okay, dispersion builds are no longer worth it in this meta. Maybe we should start with the tank builds now. The ones that don't catch on fire that easy. The ones that when they do catch on fire have multiple heals that allow you to recover the fire damage and you can just let the fires burn. But with that being said, you saw 129,000 damage in my second ever game in the thing. Almost 300, 260 hits with the thing. It's disgusting. It's a very good ship. It's very good at what it is, and that is a fire starter maximum range build. And so if you like what I'm doing, punch the like button, leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as always, I will see you in the next video.